Assalamu alaikum students. In the last session we started with the lesson The Revolt of 1857. Let's quickly recap what we have learned till now in this lesson. In this lesson till now we have learned that by 1856 most of the Indian subcontinents they were brought under the control of English East India Company, and various sections of people they were badly affected by the oppressive policies of the British. And during the first half of the 19th century, a series of revolt it broke out in India, and these revolts they failed to achieve much success as they were confined to only one region, or you can say only one section of society. Now after that we learned that when does a revolt occurs, means when people they express their resentment against the authorities in a number of different ways, that time a revolt occurs. Means usually people they resort to a revolt when they feel that it is no longer possible to put up with the existing situation, existing government or existing policies. After that we have learnt about the causes of the revolt of 1857, like political cause, economic cause, socio-religious cause, after that military causes, immediate cause. These were the causes of the revolt of 1857. Political cause, like the annexation of the Awadh in 1856, like on the grounds of maladministration. This deeply hurt the sentiments of the company sepoy. Then economic causes, discontent among the peasants, the artisans. It was another important cause of discontent because the policies of the economic exploitation of India, which affected all sections of the Indian society. Large areas of land they were confiscated and they were sold to the highest bidder. Then large scale inflow of British manufactured goods into India. They made the Indian handmade goods costlier. There was deindustrialization in the country, drain of wealth, lack of modern industries, and unemployment. They were severe, you can say several sections of the society added economic grievance. Then social religious causes, like the Indians the response to the reforms. Then racism, threat to religion, social discrimination faced by the Indians due to the British attitude. Then British described the people like Hindus as barbarians and the Muslims as cruel, or you can say intolerant. After that, we have learnt about the military causes. This was the discontent among the sepoys. Sepoys means the soldiers. The Indian sepoys they were looked upon as the inferiors, which were inferior beings, and they were treated badly by the British superiors, and they were paid less than the British soldiers. Then these sepoys they were forbidden to wear, or they were not allowed to wear uh, caste or sectarian marks such as tilak, beard or turbans. Then the Indian sepoys, they foreign surveillance allowance, or the batta you can say, was discontinued. And immediate causes, the controversy you can say over the new Enfield pattern rifles. It was introduced in the British Army in 1853, which led to the revolt of 1857. Now let's start with the next part of the lesson. What we are going to learn in this lesson, the main learning objectives. Why did the revolt fail? Result of the revolt. the Indian Council Act 1861. So let's learn the first thing, that why did the revolt it failed. Now this revolt, although it was an important event in the history of India, it failed to achieve its objectives due to some reasons, like largely localized characters. Means the revolt did not spread to each and every part of the Indian subcontinents under the, you can say, direct control of the British, then including Bombay Presidency and Madras Presidency. After that, weak leadership. The leadership of the movement was weak, and most of the leaders, they were motivated by narrow personal gains, and no national leader they emerged to to coordinate to this movement and give it, you can say, purpose and direction. Then Bahadur Shah too was old and was not even in, you can say, command of the sepoys in Delhi. After that, lack of common ideals, like there was a lack of common idea among the revolutionaries. The Hindus, they wanted to set up a Maratha Raj, while the Muslims, they wanted to revive the Mughal rule. So this was, you can say, the lack of common ideal between the people. Then instead of going for an alternative to the colonial system, most rebels, you can say, wanted to go back to the past. After that, we have lack of support from the emerging middle class. The emerging middle class, they did not support the rebel or the revolt. In fact, they believed that only the British could take India into the modern age. This was the thinking of the middle class people during that time. Then old and outdated weapons were used by the rebels, and they could not compete with the sophisticated, or you can say, the modern weapons which were used by the British. Then besides this, they did not have enough weapons to carry on their battles with the British. Then there were some secret negotiations also with the British. Means most of the old rulers who fought in the revolt had been deprived of their territories, and during the time of the revolt, some of them, they started negotiating with the British people, or they shake hand with the, you can say, the British for the restoration of their rights, and betrayed their own people. After that, we have the result of the revolt. I mean, what was the result of the revolt of 1857? The revolt, it produced, you can say, far-reaching result or effect. The British, they introduced some changes in their policies, like the Government of India Act 1858. According to this law, power of the East India Company, they were transferred to the British Crown. This, you can say, this was to ensure better and more responsible management and affairs. Then a Secretary of State was appointed during this time, and he was made responsible for all the matters which were related to the government of India, and he was to be assisted by an advisory council which consisted 15 members, and this council was called the Indian Council. And the Governor General of India was replaced by a viceroy, you can say, a personal representative of the crown. Then the respect, the dignity, and the honor of the native prince were acknowledged. Ruling chiefs, they had their territorial rights again restored. They could pass on their properties and their titles to their successors again, including adopted son. Then the Indian chiefs, they had to accept the British Queen as their sovereign paramount. After that, we have the Indian Civil Service Act 1861. This act was passed to encourage the entry of more Indians in the Indian civil service. For this, an annual exam was held in London. Then, reorganization of Indian Army. Indian sepoys were responsible Indian sepoys were responsible for the outbreak of the revolt of 1857. Then the Indian army was now thoroughly reorganized. After that, the Indian army, it was again reorganized. Number of Indian soldiers in the army were reduced, and the strength of European soldiers were increased. All Indian artillery units were disbanded, and superior posts in the army, in the artillery, were reserved only for the Europeans, not for the Indians. Then more soldiers were recruited for, you can say, from Gorkha, Sikh and Pathan regiment. After that, we have the Indian Council Act. This was again after the revolt of 1857, or you can say the result of 1857. The Indian Council Act 1861. Now this council, it aimed, you can say, at associating more Indians in the act of legislation, so that the rulers would be aware of their feelings and their sentiments. The British, they believed that the Muslims had supported the revolts. Therefore, their lands, their properties, they were confiscated on large scale. And the British, they realized the importance of tradition and the religion in the lives of the people of India, or the Indians. Therefore, they decided to give respect to the Indian traditions, customs, and other religious beliefs. Now, in order to win the support and the loyalty of the landlords, uh, new policies were framed, or new policies were made for the protection of their rights over the land. Uh, though the Britishers were able to suppress the revolt, it clearly indicated the might, the strength, the determination of the Indians to them. It succeeded, you can say, in sowing the seed of Indian nationalism, and it served as a source of inspiration for the future generation. In respect, it was the first war of Indian independence. So let's quickly recap what we have learned in today's session. Today we learned why did the revolt it failed. Due to largely localized characters, weak leadership, lack of common ideals, lack of support from the emerging middle class, old and outdated weapons, then secret negotiation with the Britishers. After that, we learnt about the result of the revolt. It resulted in the Government of India Act 1858, then Indian Civil Service Act 1861, then the reorganization of the Indian Army, after that the Indian Council Act 1861. Thank you. Hope this session was useful for you.